Evelyn's night shift at the local department store had always been a peaceful. She enjoyed the solitude, the rhythmic clacking of her shoes on the polished tiles, and the quiet hum of the overhead lights. Stocking shelves in the stillness of the night gave her a sense of purpose, and it allowed her to escape from the chaos of her daytime life. But tonight was different. The store was unusually quiet, more so than usual. Evelyn had noticed the odd silence as soon as she clocked in. The usual clamor of the cooling system was absent, leaving an unsettling void in its place. It was just past midnight, and the only sound was the occasional thud of her boxes hitting the ground. As she navigated the aisles, stocking shelves and rearranging items, a strange sensation crept up her spine. The air felt heavier, almost as if it were pressing down on her. She tried to ignore it, attributing it to fatigue. But when the store's emergency lights flickered briefly, she felt a shiver run down her back. It wasn't until she heard the soft, almost imperceptible whispering, she truly began to feel uneasy. It was as if the shadows themselves were murmuring secrets just beyond her hearing. Evelyn stopped in her tracks and listened intently. The whispering ceased as quickly as it had started. She shook her head, dismissing it as a figment of her imagination. After an hour of stocking and restocking, Evelyn decided to take a short break in the employee lounge. She sat down on the worn-out couch, her feet sore from standing so long. As she sipped her lukewarm coffee, her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from her friend, Lucy, who was supposed to be out of town. Lucy, "Hey Evelyn, just wanted to check in. Everything okay at the store?" "Yeah, just the usual. Why do you ask?" Lucy, "I heard something weird about the old building where your store is located. Supposedly it has a dark history. I know it sounds silly, but there are rumors about something being off." Evelyn rolled her eyes, but a small knot of unease formed in her stomach. She had heard urban legends about the store being built over old burial ground, but she never took them seriously. She dismissed Lucy's concerns with a quick reply. "Evelyn, don't worry about it. It's probably just an old wives' tale." After her break, Evelyn returned to the aisles, her nerves slightly frayed. The whispering had returned, this time more persistent. It seemed to come from all around her, echoing through the empty store. She stopped to listen again. Once more, the whispers faded away. She tried to focus on her tasks, but her anxiety grew. The store's layout seemed to change subtly, the aisles appearing longer and more labyrinthine. She thought it was her mind playing tricks on her, exhaustion blurring her perception. But then she noticed something even more unsettling. Smell, dark smudges on the shelves where none had been before. As she continued working, she heard a peculiar sound from the back storage room. It was a scratching noise, rhythmic and deliberate. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached the door, her steps echoing in the silence. She reached for the handle, but the door creaked open by itself, revealing an empty room bathed in dim light. The scratching noise had stopped, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. Evelyn cautiously entered the room, her eyes scanning the surroundings. She noticed a dusty old mirror against one wall, its surface covered in grime. The mirror's glass was cracked, and the reflection it provided was distorted. A sudden chill swept through the room, causing Evelyn to shiver. The whispering returned, louder and more insistent. It felt like it was coming from within the mirror. Evelyn approached it hesitantly, her breath fogging up the cracked glass. As she leaned closer, she saw something moving in the reflection. It was a shadowy figure, barely discernible, standing just behind her. She spun around. There was no one there. Her heart raced as she turned back to the mirror, only to find the figure gone. Panicking, Evelyn stumbled out of the storage room and back into the main store area. Her breath was ragged, and her hands trembled uncontrollably. She glanced at the clock. It was almost 2 a.m. She needed to finish her shift and get out of there as quickly as possible. But as she worked, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The whispering grew louder, and the store seemed to distort around her. The aisles stretched endlessly, the lights flickering ominously. Evelyn felt a rising sense of dread, as if she were trapped in a nightmarish maze. Desperate to escape, she raced towards the exit, only to find the door locked tight. She pounded on it, but it wouldn't budge. Her panic escalated, and she began to cry out for help. But her voice was swallowed by the suffocating silence. The whispering grew more distinct, forming words that sent shivers down her spine. It was a sinister, mocking tone, repeating the same phrase over and over. "She's here. She's always been here." Evelyn's mind raced. She remembered the old urban legend her friend had mentioned. It was about a store built on cursed land, where an evil presence lurked, feeding off the fear of those trapped inside. The legend spoke of a sinister force that would torment and ultimately claim those who ventured into the store after dark. Her thoughts were interrupted by a chilling sound, a low, guttural growl. She turned around to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. It was an amorphous shape, shifting and writhing as if it were made of smoke and shadows. Evelyn could barely make out its features, but it had a menacing presence, sent her reeling in terror. She stumbled backward, her mind racing with desperation. She tried to reason with the figure, her voice trembling as she pleaded for mercy. But the figure remained silent. Its eyes, they could be called that, glowing with an unnatural light. In a last-ditch effort to escape, Evelyn ran towards the back storage room again. She yanked open the door and found herself face to face with the mirror she had seen earlier. The reflection showed not just her, but the shadowy figure closing in behind her. With no other options, Evelyn grabbed a nearby shelf pole and swung it at the mirror. The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the shadowy figure let out an ear-splitting screech. Force of the scream seemed to push Evelyn back, sending her crashing to the floor. In the midst of the chaos, Evelyn saw the broken pieces of the mirror reflecting fragments of her life. Her childhood home, her family, her dreams. The reflection was a fractured mosaic of her past, now tainted by the horrors she was experiencing. As she lay on the floor, struggling to breathe, the whispering grew louder, more frenzied. The shadowy figure seemed to dissolve into the store's darkness, leaving behind an oppressive silence. Evelyn could barely move, her body numb and her mind overwhelmed. The store's emergency lights flickered one last time before going out completely. The darkness was suffocating, and Evelyn felt a sense of finality as she lay there, her strength waning. In the end, Evelyn's cries for help went unanswered. The store, now shrouded in darkness and silence, seemed to absorb her very essence. The legend had claimed another victim, and the whispers continued to echo through the empty aisles. Chilling reminder of the darkness that lay hidden in the shadows. When the morning came, the store was found in disarray. The shelves were toppled, and the mirror in the storage room was shattered. But Evelyn was nowhere to be found. Her absence was a haunting testament to the store's dark legacy, and her fate remained a chilling mystery. The store remained open, but the whispers persisted. A lingering reminder of the horror lurked within. Evelyn's story became a cautionary tale, a sad and eerie legend of a nightmarish presence that fed on fear and despair. The once innocuous department store now stood as a silent sentinel to the darkness that lay beneath its polished facade. In the quiet moments of the night, when the store is empty and the only sound is the whisper of the wind outside, employees who work the late shift sometimes claim to hear faint, disembodied whispers. They say the shadows move in the corners of their vision, and the air grows colder as if someone or something were watching them. And so, the legend lives on. A dark and sorrowful tale echoes through the empty aisles and lingers in the shadow.